we are expecting a strong El Nino this winter, but there are so many other factors as well that goes into a winter forecast. My first winter forecast will likely be out in about 6 to 7 or 8 weeks or so, but I try to make several videos leading up to the first winter forecast, as it is very challenging forecasting the winter overall with so many factors in place, not just the Enzo region. Because people think if you have a La Nina winter, it will be cold and snowy, or if you have an El Nino winter, it will be warm and dry, but that is not usually how it goes, as there are so many factors, including the wild card, the polar vortex. The polar vortex always it plays a huge role into how each winter will go, and again, it can also bust forecasts a lot, or it can also make forecasts verify if you're predicting a cold winter overall. Now below is a look at the sea surface temperatures in the Enzo region, and you can see we have pretty far above average temperatures at the sea surface into the Enzo region, which is inside the black boxed area. You want to say, the further east you go into the Enzo region, it is even warmer than average, which can play a role into how this winter will go, because this is more of a east base El Nino, it seems, which can be different than a west base El Nino as well. But again, these are very far above average already for this time of the year, and it seems that we will continue to have very warm temperatures in the waters, I guess, in the Enzo region through this winter and into springtime before that begins to go down. Now, this is a look at a forecast, okay, from a model through the next several months of what the Enzo region would do for the El Nino. So it appears that we'll likely get into the extreme El Nino category as we move into this fall time frame and potentially into early winter. As you can see, the dotted line areas is like the mean forecast of all the different ensemble members, and again, most of them are, up into the extreme category. But as we move to late winter time frame to early spring, it appears that we will really go down the El Nino very quickly into late winter and into spring time frame. That can also play a big role also into what late winter into springtime would do, because you won't have an extreme El Nino in place anymore, which will lead to a less influenced El Nino, I guess you want to say, as you get into late winter and into the springtime. That can also play a lot of factor into the spring forecast as well that I won't really talk about for months coming up ahead. But again, very high confidence in it. So El Nino continuing to at least all the winter time frame. Before as we get to early spring, we like to get out of that El Nino with a really good agreement on that even taking place, and possibly back down to a neutral actually as soon as April time frame. So if this moves up anymore, that could change the forecast a bit as well. But again, even though we will have an extreme El Nino, it appears it won't last very long with only a couple months. So the hype of the planet that's gonna burn down everything, I guess you want to say, is it's dumb really. It's not gonna. That's not how it's gonna go. It's a few months El Nino and then it goes back down. We ain't gonna have no, blown up planet. You want to say. One interesting thing we look at is the IOD index as we move to the positive phase for this fall and into winter time frame. That can affect our weather quite a bit as well with a positive IOD. Right now we're starting to get into that positive phase with a consistent positive phase into the winter time frame. That likely lead to a full cycle of this taking place, and that can disrupt the polar vortex quite a bit. It can help at least disrupt the polar vortex as we move to the winter time frame. Now, this does not show the exact time frame when this polar vortex may be disrupted, but this can help weaken the polar jet stream, I guess, up north, and that can lead to a disruption in the polar vortex in this positive phase. And who knows if it will happen in October or if it will happen to December or January. But either way, obviously the earlier it happens, maybe a early start of winter. That could be. We could have an early start of winter, I guess, if this IOD index, will be enough in the positive phase to get a disruptive polar vortex to happen. But again, you need more than this, I guess, to get a disruptive polar vortex as well. You usually would want some ridging up north into Canada, some ridging, I guess, like Canada as well. That can also lead to a disruptive polar vortex. So again, a lot of factors into a winter forecast and different types of indexes and I guess areas of the oceans that can affect our weather pattern throughout the winter. But then again, as we move to early next year, it looks like we may start to get out of that positive, I guess, IOD, which could, lead, maybe change the pattern up again as we move to late winter. So late winter, quite a bit more uncertainty than how maybe this fall and into early winter will go. So again, a lot of variables definitely at play here. And also, this is in the Indian Ocean, index, I guess. So that means that, I mean, we're looking at an index in the Indian Ocean, which also isn't close to here, but it does affect our weather pattern overall. Believe it or not, ocean regions across the globe, in the Indian Ocean or anywhere across the globe, can affect our weather pattern, through all across the planet as well. So you don't just need the Enzo region over here to affect our pattern. You can have several different regions across the globe that will affect our upper pattern overall. Now, let's look at one model, the European model, seasonal snowfall forecast for this winter time frame. You can see this does have above average snowfall for the central southern plains and portions of the Midwest, with below average snowfall for the upper Midwest region. So this could happen. I guess it's pretty likely we will have an active winter overall, but it was like big systems. But again, the uncertainty here is how much cold air will we have in place to get these big winter storms to take place. The last El Nino we had a couple winters ago, there was a couple big winter storms in Iowa in them areas because we had enough cold air in place. So it will likely be a pretty active winter. But again, you always need that cold air in place. So it doesn't mean it will be only snow. It could have rain. But this model does have above average snowfall for portions of the region at least. With the lake effect season maybe a bit lower than last season, we might not have a big lake effect here for areas along Lake Superior and Lake Michigan. But again, we maybe have some northwest flow throughout the winter that could allow for a couple lake effect events to take place. But I would not expect a record season for snowfall up there and along that belt for lake effect snow either. But further south, again, maybe we'll have above average snowfall. It's possible, but this is just one model around a few months out. Anything can happen. And taking a look at the precipitation averages as well for this winter, it looks like it'll be, again, pretty active across the Midwest and into the eastern coast of the United States as well. So, again, pretty good agreement for ensembles on a pretty active winter coming ahead. Again, this is not my own forecast. I will have a personal forecast out in 6 to 8 weeks or so. That will be a little bit different than this because, again, these are just models I'm showing. This is not an actual forecast of what will happen. This model also pretty good agreement on a pretty active winter for the East Coast and the portion of the plains as well. So, again, it appears that we will have a pretty active winter and across some areas of the Midwest with pretty good agreement, even at this range, on this happening. So, pretty interesting. This is one more model as well for this fall. I guess this only goes out to this fall, even it has a pretty active fall. So, we may have several months of a pretty active pattern ahead over the next 4 to 6 months or so. So, again, I will have my first winter forecast out in about 6 to 8 weeks, probably early October, depending on how things go. But I plan to have 1 or 2 more videos before this time frame, that time frame as well. So, thank you.